After being in development for over 4 years, Fishbowl is finally here, and it's proven to be worth the long wait. Special thanks to the publisher for providing me with a Steam key, although by that point I had already purchased the PS5 version, which had an early access offer available for pre-orders. This review is mainly focused on the Steam version, but I briefly talk about the PS5 version as well. As is the case with all my game reviews, for those who do not wish to watch the entire video, here's a summary. Fishbowl narrates a thought-provoking and well-written story about dealing with grief and becoming an adult in an ever-changing world. With light gameplay mechanics that keep you engaged, the game encourages you to explore different dialogue choices in multiple playthroughs to explore variations in Alo's story. For this review, I finished only one playthrough, which ran for around 9 hours, and I'm eager to dive back in and discover more. The mini-games that make up the core of the gameplay loop are repetitive by design, simulating the chores that an adult is expected to perform daily. So you need to be prepared to live a virtual life for 9 to 10 hours in which you mostly do the same things over and over again while taking the story forward every day. Luckily, the story is engaging enough to make you look beyond the repetitive chores, and you're even allowed to be a bit irresponsible and ignore some of the tasks to just focus on the story. With charming pixel art and friendly sound effects and music that fill the absence of voiced dialogue, the game offers a relaxed experience that you need to unravel at your own pace. That was it for the summary. Now let us move on to the full review. Minor spoilers ahead. Fishbowl is a visual novel that narrates an emotional tale about a young adult named Alo, who finds herself all alone in her apartment during the start of the COVID pandemic. At the beginning of the game, it seems like a wonder that she's even functioning at all because the world seems to conspire against her. Not only does she have to deal with the pandemic and all the scary stuff around that, but it's only been a month since her grandmother died and only a week since she started a new job in an unknown city. She lives by herself, and while supported by a circle of friends and family, the lockdown is in effect, meaning she can't go out or host anyone else. The only piece of silver lining is her job, which is at a company called Sitara LLC. Alo works as a junior video editor and is good at her job. However, the game opens with Alo writing a poem in her notebook and then scratching off the words, leading to the question of what her interest in poetry has to do with her job as a video editor. This and many other questions about Alo's life are slowly revealed to us over the span of 28 in-game days. The game's title refers to a toy fish that Alo's mother sends her along with a bunch of other old stuff from her childhood home. For no obvious reason, the toy fish starts speaking with Alo and reminds her of various memories from her childhood. Some of these memories inevitably lead to darker corners of her mind, and the fish immediately tries to distract Alo by bringing up happier times again. This constant back and forth between memories and the real-time challenges faced by her friends and colleagues cause Alo's mood to fluctuate a lot, as displayed by the mood meter on the top of the screen. The story often hits hard, and by that I mean it literally hits the mood meter hard at times, because you could be having a great day and fill up the meter to the next level, and then one bad memory or event could bring it all crashing down in a few seconds, undoing the progress of the entire day. It's a sad yet accurate depiction of how real life works as well, where seemingly small things can ruin an entire day for us. As the month goes by, we learn about Alo's upbringing and how her mother and grandmother had a huge influence in shaping her thought process. In the present, Alo's colleagues and her boss try their best to keep the show going on, despite each of them having to deal with their own challenges. All conversations take place through video calls, so you get to see how each character responds to the dialogue. Towards the end of the game, the story inevitably gets emotional and may remind players of challenging times from their own past. On the whole, with over 1 lakh lines of text, this is a thoroughly well written and well presented story that reminds us to look after ourselves no matter how our past might have been and what the present is challenging us with so that we may look forward to a brighter future. The game takes place primarily within Arlo's apartment, with the environment changing only to showcase events from Arlo's past. The apartment is surprisingly big for someone on a fresh graduate's salary, and Arlo herself makes reference to this fact more than once. I suppose a realistic depiction with a tiny studio apartment would not have been very fun to play. In any case, there's a lot of things to do in Arlo's apartment, and you will need to do them every single day. The game gradually unlocks different chores and activities, and eventually you are presented with a checklist that contains more than a dozen things to do on a daily basis. If you choose to be responsible and finish all your chores, your mood meter fills up much faster, and you are given different dialogue choices at various parts of the game. If you choose to be lazy and only focus on the essential chores, you might end up being in a bad mood for most of the time and end up with some pretty sad dialogue choices. All the chores and activities consist of simple mini games. Apart from the video editing matching game, which is Alo's day job, most other mini games involve simple button prompts with the tiny graphics on top of each button changing with each game. Some tasks only require you to activate them and they will auto run. For instance, cleaning the house or drinking water. Others require multiple inputs to complete them, such as cooking, doing the laundry, and so on. The matching game involves guiding different clips into the right track according to their color. You'll be working alongside different colleagues, and some of them even offer special abilities to make the matching game easier, which I won't spoil here. If you find the speed of this game to be too fast, you can slow it down in the options menu. The final aspect of the core gameplay involves the unboxing puzzles. Apart from dealing with her daily routine, Arlo has also volunteered to receive a huge collection of her grandmother's old belongings, and each day she unboxes one or more of these belongings. These puzzles are not too difficult once you understand the basic premise, which again I won't spoil here. But in case you feel too tired or impatient, you can skip the puzzles in the options menu. Both the accessibility settings can only be found in the options menu and not during the gameplay itself. Also, I found it a bit strange that there is no option to replay a mini game in case you want to do better. This applies mostly to the video matching game, where sometimes I had an imperfect game and could not retry the same level. There's no big penalty for a bad game, but it would have been nice to be able to try again because it's a video game and not real life, which sadly doesn't have a try again button. On the PS5, the game makes use of the adaptive trigger for its key actions, although I found that for some actions, it was a bit tiresome to use the trigger. Unlike a shooter game where you essentially hold down the trigger most of the time, the actions here require repeated presses, which can be slightly difficult with the adaptive trigger's intensity. You can either disable the intensity in the PS5 settings or use X on the controller as an alternate key. Alo has a journal where you can look at the checklist for the day and also go through the different memories that she has unlocked through the puzzle games. After a few in-game days, you settle into a nice rhythm of finishing your day job, then your chores for the day, and try to go to bed in a good mood because more often than not, the story that follows will cause you to wake up the next day in a bad mood. To sum up this section, the gameplay does a good job of keeping you engaged in between the story beats and effectively simulates the experience of living alone and working from home during the pandemic. Just in case you were too young to remember what that was like or wanted to go through it again to remind yourself how fortunate we all were to get through that phase. Fishbowl is a pixel art game, which is an art style that I'm personally a bit exhausted with, but which undeniably has a lot of fans across the world. So it's not an exaggeration when I say that the artwork in this game is quite good. So good, in fact, that I had to double check with a friend who's a game developer and pixel artist that this game indeed uses pixel art all the time. Some scenes, such as the video calls, feature high resolution character portraits that really put some other pixel art games to shame. One benefit of using pixel art is that the art assets are lighter compared to the more realistic art styles, and it helps a lot with the game's performance. Fishbowl is no different. It ran quite smoothly on my ancient PC, and according to the publisher, the game should run well on Steam Deck and other handhelds too. Thanks to the usage of the lightweight Game Maker engine and some programming wizardry, the entire game comes in at less than 200 MB on both PC and PS5, which is something I can admire while I wait to download updates for other games which run into multiple gigabytes. Fishbowl is a shining example of how narrative video games can help us make sense of the complexities of real life. As a game made in India, Fishbowl proudly wears its cultural heritage on its sleeve, with several references to Indian culture in its gameplay. Alo discovers old Indian coins which are no longer in circulation. Her fridge has a combination of Western and Indian snacks, and her grandmother's belongings are full of references to old Indian knickknacks, some of which are hard to find in modern India. This is an easy game to recommend to anyone who enjoys a satisfying narrative experience, and what better way to sign off than by echoing the game's most memorable teaching, which asks you to remember each night that no matter what, you got through the day. Thanks for watching.